Tamil Nadu 2026 elections seems to be a historic kind of a change. I have with me Mr. Yanram, who has watched politics here several years. Do you see this as an election that has actually changed the course of Tamil Nadu politics?
It's too early to say that. It certainly has broken the pattern, but whether it's been broken irremediably, it's hard to say. I don't think so, based on this evidence, because it's a change, but it's. I mean, the word they used was disruption. But can we say that the era of the bipolar era is over? There are two coalitions. I can't say yet. Based on this, we have to wait and see.
This government now has the majority, or Mr. Vijay being sworn in as chief minister, but with the support of so many parties, uh, they're talking about a very fragile majority here. How do you expect this to actually play out? Because already in the run up to the formation itself, we have seen so much of trouble and so much of hesitation.
Yes, because people were unprepared for it, and they couldn't stomach the idea of somebody with zero experience, but with stardom, superstardom in the film world, producing this result. I think some journalists and others, even politicians, caught the enthusiasm, the momentum, and so on, but they couldn't quantify it in any way. They thought, and the other question was, whose vote will they erode? All kinds of speculations, and I think the polls didn't really give an answer. Most of them, the opinion polls and even the exit polls all suggested, barring one or two, that the DMK would form the next government, the support of its allies. But DMK itself would get a majority on its own. A few said it'd be close, there'd be close contests and so on, and one who had got it horribly wrong earlier. I don't want to name them. I think he got it. He picked up something, but he got it wrong on the AIADMK, which didn't quite collapse. So I think the limitations of these polls were exposed in this election, among other things. Of course, if things are obvious, for example, in Assam, what was happening then, everybody gets it right. And
This was a new player, obviously.
hard to predict what would happen, and I think they were taken by surprise, if not shock.
The parties which have come forward to give support to the TVK have all been with the DMK alliance, with the Secular Progressive Alliance. Uh, do you see a situation where Mr. Stalin may actually end up being like a remote control, controlling them? Because many of them very openly have said that they do owe their MLA seats to Mr. Stalin's party.
Yes, and I think as chief minister, Stalin took a very strong, I think among all the chief ministers, maybe along with Pinarayi Vijayan, he took the clearest stand on issues of secularism, democracy, and also state rights. He really stood up to the BJP in a way that you don't see very often. For those in power, where you depend on the central government for many things. So I think that is greatly appreciated by these allies. And the DMK they also had a very strong organizational base, which they still have. Nobody is defected, no leader is defected, or section has gone away. You can't say that. We don't know how enduring this phenomenon is going to be, how sustainable it is going to be. Support base for Vijay, 35% or whatever. That's a lot. And in Tamil Nadu politics, usually, not in a Lok Sabha election, but in an assembly election, that could be close to a winning margin. The party that gets 35 usually wins in a bipolar contest. But this was different. Will they? Yes, I think he'll hold huge influence in the running of the government. They will function as the main opposition party, and the allies, they can't. Unconditional support means for sailing through, for the confidence vote, which they will support. And if they put conditions and so on, then I think the governor may sort of exploit it. The governor who's as hostile to the to the way a government should be formed, putting every obstacle in the way. Of course, the other TVK also showed a lot of immaturity, whoever advised it. The letters they drafted, the fact that you go and see the governor, one letter according to what the governor had said is, we have 35% of the vote, so what? That's not enough. You give me the numbers, and so on. So I don't think they handled it with any competence, let
So is
alone
that political
maturity.
inexperience going to show up in the way the government is run as well? So far, we have had such established both the parties were so established and they have a history of running governments, and now it is completely new player with almost the entire table is new.
It depends on how quickly they can learn on the job. Been thrown in the deep end. They've got a few people with experience or educational qualifications, but these things don't suggest that they are very well up, even at the beginners level. But then they could spring a surprise. We are bringing in others, good officials, for example. Tamil Nadu has, some of the ministers will criticize the bureaucracy, but I think this is a state which is well served on the whole.
Bureaucratic traditions
Although
in
there
it.
is corruption, there's so many other things. But I think the so-called steel frame is pretty robust. And I think Vijay could, as chief minister, could benefit from that. What about the others? Who will take up the ministries? How many will the Congress? Congress is obviously in a coalition arrangement and will demand its pounds of flesh, or whatever. And for this sudden, they started it all. I can't believe it's just to oppose the BJP. They thought they could break this two-party or two-alliance model, this Dravidian, alternating model, and then get in. And Vijay had to pay a heavy price, I think, for getting the support of these five. I don't know what he would have done, but to his credit, I would say, he has taken on a stance which is bound to be targeted by the BJP. You can give him the benefit of doubt and say that he is secular, but with the caveat that during the election campaign he hardly took issue with the BJP on anything other than saying ideologically he has a different position.
But they don't have much of a ground strength to attack them in the state itself, except as the central government
Yeah,
representative.
exactly. But that is formidable with those agencies, the enforcement directorate. Income tax is, it's a small thing for Vijay at the moment, but even there's some issues.
Yeah.
CBI, the Karur incident, I think they'll file a charge sheet soon, and will some of these frontline leaders of the TVK be included in that charge sheet? I don't know. They're bound to, but the organizers and so on. So all this he must be willing to face. So he's paid a fairly hefty price for getting the support of these five. At that time, I don't know what his hope was. Who would join you? Would he get somebody from the NDA camp?
It seemed very obvious that he's only reaching out to the DMK alliance partners, isn't it? There
So
was
far.
been no word that he approached anyone from the NDA.
To his credit.
To his credit. But we must talk about the other proposal that did come up.
From my standpoint, I'll say, because
Yes.
I have to say that.
Okay, so the other proposal that did come up, and people have accepted that, a proposal for the DMK to back an AIADMK led government led by Mr. EPS. Does that really show nervousness on the part of the Dravidian parties that they were trying to get together in something that was actually unthinkable for people who have been watching the two parties?
Not so unthinkable, apparently. I learned on this job. But what I can say is that Chief Minister Stalin, and as the leader, the president of the DMK, the ruling party, and still I would say the strongest party in the Tamil Nadu political system, organizationally and the track record, etc., he made it very clear, the conversations I had, as well as on the record, that we won't disturb him for 6 months. And let's see after that. and we have to respect the people's mandate. They even criticize the governor, at least some of the DMK leaders, I think, given his guidance for creating putting all these obstacles in the way. And some of them said the AIADMK has got the central union government to instruct the governor to do this and all that. So I think that was the right approach. But then there was a counter game that was played, I think, an attempt for whatever reason. I don't want to get into names because I know some of them. People can do their own research. But clearly they said that it's worse to have him than have AIADMK with our support. And that is a real thing, no?
Is that the fear that, like an MGR, he will not allow the other parties to come to power and he could continue? He has age on his side and the stardom, if it continues.
I believe some of the arguments, what I heard, also from media friends and so on, is that if you let him form the government for 10 or 15 years, aseka mudiyadu. We can't shake him. He's no MGR, that's for sure. MGR grew up in this movement and was a superstar. I remember, I knew him, I remember that. This is a new phenomenon. How enduring it will be, how sustainable, who knows. But you've got to respect this, that they're the single largest party. The second argument apparently was that the AIADMK as a group will break away and support him.
That was going to be my question, that the biggest danger is actually for the AIADMK led by Mr. EPS, isn't it? The danger that DMK is going to be the opposition party. It has been always a strong opposition party. And the AIADMK actually faces a very real danger of possibly getting split.
But now with this government formation, I think it will be more difficult. Should a group break away and offer to support him, I think, what does it add? Because they can
it's a very fragile government. It could be blackmailed by anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So at some point, I guess he'd want to win a majority, but then since you're dependent on this, I don't think you can go for fresh elections or anything because it's a minority government. It will be at that stage because surely all these parties have their own programs. For even VCK, I think all these rumors about, I didn't believe them at all. I was in touch with both Mr. Tirumavalavan and Ravi Kumar, MP, they're friends. And I never believed all these stories that he was offered the chief ministership or he was demanding this or that. I think they want...
The story went that the AIADMK, DMK would give him or offer him a chief minister's post and the other side a deputy CM.
Over the top. I don't think he made any such demand. Whether somebody offered it or who knows, in a trivial way, in a non-serious way, in a way that couldn't be implemented. I have no idea, but I don't think he would be taken in by all this. But I think he wants, yes, he would want to be, ideally he would have wanted to have some role. His people expect a share in power. But he was always willing to support the DMK. And the only time they demanded power sharing was when Adav Arjuna was briefly with the VCK, and he issued some statements which are completely out of sync with the thinking process in that party.
But for Tirumavalavan, it's actually a political pragmatism also, because the TVK has some 28 Dalit MLAs. Of them, 24 are from reserved constituencies, the 4 others from unreserved constituencies where a Dalit leader has come up, and it's a Dalit MLA who's been elected. And
is it 4 or 2? I think
28 is a number and 4 is the numbers from unreserved. Plus there are 17 district secretaries who belong to the SC group. So doesn't that mean in a sense that Tirumavalavan, as the leader of the SC groups that we have always seen him to be, gets challenged? So he needs to show that he is doing more for the community than what the TVK does.
But actually his demands will be more justice for the commission, scheduled castes and tribes. Those are going to be his...
and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to get power.
No, I think he's interested in later a common minimum program on the basis of which they will take a stand, I think, because these are all different parties. Yes, there was some erosion, there's no doubt, and that will be a concern. But if more schedule, we have to be careful in the use of the word Dalits. He taught me once.
Dalit is
But
anyway not
yeah,
allowed even by the Supreme Court. It
yeah,
says you should say scheduled caste.
yeah. I mean, he is very particular. He has no objection to Dalit, but that would include others as well. Not just, for example, Christian
Community.
schedule. People who belong to the schedule, who should belong to the scheduled caste, but because of their religion, they are not included in that. All that will be Dalit. But I got a lesson from him once. It was quite interesting on this. The terminology, I think he's good. So I think you'd be interested in taking that course forward and
One of
getting
the
and promotions and so on. So he could use the opportunity to push for that, and as a result of that, also gain political strength.
One of the arguments that was given to me, the reason why Dalit youth or SC youth are moving away from parties like the VCK towards the TVK was because they are no longer called by that category. They are no longer categorized, and they are going into a new template where you're just a youth who belongs to a particular community, and you're no longer, because you are categorized as an SC youth.
Yes, that's a good thing. That's happened. I think whatever data have appeared on Vijay's vote bank, or what he got, I can't say the bank yet. I think it was quite across, very evenly spread, which I think was a very positive factor. Support came from Christians. Earlier they said all Christians will vote for DMK Congress together. Similarly, Muslims, of course, even in a bigger way. But somehow, and that has been divided by all accounts. I haven't seen all the data. That analysis has to be done if the data are available. But certainly you can come to some reasonable estimates of what happened, and that would show that it's right across.
That's a
And
good
women.
development. But this claim about no money given, and yet he won the seats, is that a one-off phenomenon?
I
Or
think that's
is
not
that
that's not strictly true. It's true that I know, for example, in my constituency where I voted 1,000 lights, neither the DMK nor TVK candidates gave any money, distributed money to voters. I know it for a fact. Dr. Erilan Naganathan and the TVK candidate, whose name I can't remember. And then there was the former DMK, the Valarmati. So,
yeah, Valarmati was there.
and it's true that in many constituencies, the TVK candidates spent very little money even on electoral expenses. But we also know that in some places, well-off candidates did pay. I don't want to get into any legal issue because I know even in Chennai, a lot of money was paid by the TVK candidates in some places.
Finally, what would you want to tell to Mr. Vijay? He's going to be Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, going to head a new team. What would you want to tell him? I would want.
First, be secular, be democratic, oppose authoritarianism, work for, continue good schemes, don't make for wild promises, tall promises. Of course, every party makes promises, and at least a good part of that has to be delivered. He's made some pretty tall promises financially. Get a good finance minister, get advisors, get advice from good bureaucrats, use them well, and also pay attention to development, because that's an area where over the last 5 years I think Tamil Nadu has done exceptionally well, emerging as, for example, the last one, 10 point something percent growth, more than
The highest in the country.
but 42% of women working. That didn't come in one day, but that got strengthened. Working in the manufacturing sector are in Tamil Nadu, all India figures, astonishing for the education and so on. Of course, there is a great deal of corruption in this state, which has to be systemic. Nobody can get rid of it overnight. And it's part of political finance. It's got enmeshed. you got to take it on. But I have no illusion that Vijay or anyone else will get rid of it like that. So this business about, all these people, you saw what happened to Aam Aadmi, that, clean government, etc. You can be clean. Manmohan Singh was clean, but as Prime Minister, but what about his government at that time? So it's not enough to say I'm completely clean. And pay your taxes to Vijay. Pay your income tax properly. Don't be straight on that. Set an example. We can give that credit to Dr. Manmohan Singh. Be like Dr. Manmohan Singh in that respect. No, I mean, to be like the left leaders is asking for too much. Pinarayi Vijayan or, all this, Manik Sarkar or
frugal lives.
Shankaraya or Nallakand. And on all the people now, that's asking for too much from them. But be clean yourself, set up an example, take action against those who are corrupt.
And Star Vijay is going to be different from CM Vijay, hopefully.
We wish him well. And he's won, I think it's a very impressive performance from 0 to getting 108. So that should be good. And treat the opposition with respect, where you can learn from Chief Minister Stalin. I witnessed it close at hand, that he'll meet anybody. When OPS was coming there, or he's in the other camp, how well he treated him. OPS also was reciprocated the same way. And when some mishap happens in your main rival's family, or even people below, you go and visit them. Don't, be measured in speech.
He doesn't speak at all, so measured in speeches.
That's the other thing, that be more accessible. Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. Be accessible. It's hard for him because he's very shy.
And his star status is probably making it more difficult.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be comfortable in the presence of people he doesn't know well enough. It's a kind of social, discomfort. He loves crowds. He can do very well on sets. He delivers well with the script. He's got some clever ideas, or they're given to him, and he delivers very well in a way that few can match. But be more accessible. And what's this business? There's no media. Media can't enter the place. And so on. He should be more accessible. When Kalaignar was alive, everybody knew you go to Arivalayam and there's a very good chance you can get a bite of your TV cameras, or others will get some treatment. And the same thing with Chief Minister Stalin. And I dare say with EPS too. All those leaders, they need the media still, not just social media. So I think that's a major correction he has to make in his approach to public life. That Now, if he had been well advised, he could have saved some time. Had he, after visiting the left leaders, he should have gone and visited the VCK leader, Dr. Tirumavalavan.
In fact, there was criticism from the VCK that a WhatsApp message was sent seeking support, which was obviously inappropriate thing to do.
They also criticized him for not giving a bouquet to the governor. So I'm not going into that. But these are things you've got to learn. You're an actor. You can act that, right? Whether you want it or not. But the early days, and you shouldn't be harsh on this sort of thing and so on. So, but be more accessible. And if you can't do it yourself, then get somebody very, very reliable who speaks for you. But the media will give you a hard time if you're inaccessible. They'll want something on key issues. What's your stand on delimitation, on NEET, on on GST? You may not you'll not be an expert on everything, but you can have your advisors, but meet them and deal with it on these issues, and instead of being inaccessible. That's going to be a challenge for him, given his personality. But I'm told he's very hardworking.
So that's a plus.
As an actor, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ram. So One big advice: be accessible, start taking your role seriously. You're not just an actor now, and therefore hoping that you will deliver. That's the hope of the people of Tamil Nadu. In Chennai, with camera person Paul Raj for Decoder.